What is up, Fanatics? It's 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means another episode of Home Theater Fanatics Live. Tonight is episode 184, and we got another banger for you. I think it's like a heavy metal banger this time, too, but we'll find out in just a minute. Tonight, we're being joined by Nick from Black Ocean Audio. Nick, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I am well, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's a little hot here in Southern California, but I am lucky I have an air conditioner, so doing great.
There you go, dude. We hit 96 or 97 today here in Colorado, so
Okay,
no monopoly.
well, it's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Right on. How's the humidity there? We're gonna talk weather, everybody, so just bear with us.
Not good. It feels like Florida today.
Oh my God, yeah. So okay,
Yeah.
we got you beat there. It's still like pretty much there's no water here anywhere. So
Right.
but anyway, so tonight we're here to talk about Nick. Nick, people want to know. They've been writing me letters like on paper and pencil. They're like, Black Ocean Audio and Nick, we want to know what's up. So I think tonight,
let's tell them.
Let's give them what they want.
Sure.
Give them a little boa action.
Okay. I am Nick. I am Black Ocean Audio. Black Ocean Audio is a loudspeaker company. So I make hand-built loudspeakers, and I think we're going to probably get into a little bit about what that means, hand-built versus production, things like that.
Absolutely.
That's what I've been doing for the last now 2.5 years. And so I finally have a full line of products that I'm going to start pushing out here in the very near future. And maybe a couple people like yourself have already heard some of the prototypes that I've done.
Yeah, they were awesome. So for folks that were lucky enough to be at the Home Entertainment this year show in California, it was good times to see you there and put a face to the face that we see on social media, but a real face to the face, to the name and to the gear. So that was super cool. Now, before we move on, just a couple of hellos. So we got Larry out there. We've got Audio Acoustic Engineering. What's up, man? Hi-Fi Haven is with us. Chad Harwood. What's up, Chad? Welcome to the show, man. Mike Galusha, another local Colorado guy, is with us. And the stuff's kind of scrolled off, so everybody out there, welcome, and so happy to have everyone joining us tonight. Now, the topic, as we said before, is Nick with Black Ocean Audio, and we now know that you make loudspeakers, but tell us a little bit about your product portfolio, because you've been working on this for a while, right?
I have. So when I say I make loudspeakers, I very purposefully don't make a distinction between a hi-fi speaker and a studio monitor. What I am doing is I am making the best possible speaker to reproduce music, and you guys can choose to use that however you want. So it will be a reference monitor, meaning it can be used in the studio. It can be used for mixing or mastering, but it's also not something that's hypercritical in a way where you can't listen to it for a long period of time. So I think that I'm going to have a little bit of trouble marketing these because they're kind of, they fall between both sides of the coin. But then at the same time, it's kind of a purposeful decision, and I'm going to let everyone choose what they want to do with them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, does the design philosophy of, and we'll talk about this, we're going to be all over the place tonight, guys, because I have a lot of questions. So when you say they're not designed to be like a hi-fi audiophile speaker, they're not designed to only be a studio monitor. I guess that would kind of inform the way that you tune the speaker then, right? Because you want it to be neutral. Is that it?
That's correct. And neutral does not mean boring, and
exactly
does not mean unexciting. Neutral means that the speaker is not coloring the sound in a particular way. there's still like an image and a profile, and of course, like when you listen to my speakers, you get a feeling, and when you listen to a different set of speakers, you get a feeling. But basically, they're design. I'm designing them so that like instruments reproduce in the most accurate way possible. So if you're listening to a guitar and there's just a guitar track where one guy is playing an acoustic guitar, I want that to sound like it's in the room with you, and I don't want you to be able to necessarily like discern if it's coming from the right speaker or the left speaker. I want there to be a sound stage, and I want that to be accurate, and that's where my design goals are. So I think sometimes you'll listen to a studio monitor, and that monitor will sound on the dull side of neutral, meaning that it's very rolled off.
Sure.
There's things about it where like it pulls things down, and those kind of things have their use, right? Especially if you're like at the beginning of a mixing process where things are all over the place. Like it's really hard to listen to an analytical speaker when you have stuff that's scattered all over your mixing desk. But at the other end of things, there's the audiophile speakers where maybe vocals sound really good, but certain things don't sound good. They're designed to impress with audiophile tracks, and I specifically am trying to stay away from that. I'm a metalhead, so what I listen to is pretty raw sometimes, and not all those albums are mixed the best. And so like I don't want my speakers to inform what I'm listening to, but I do want to know if what I'm listening to is not mixed well. So those two things fight against each other, and it's somewhere in the middle that I find like a happy medium.
Yeah, I think I fall into your camp to a certain extent of being that hated guy at audio shows, because I'll go in and they'll be playing some smooth jazz or a little Diana Krall, a little South African gospel, and those things are all wonderful and great. But man, I've heard them all like 18 million times, and
Right.
that's not what I listen to for fun. No, it's just I would never be
right.
like, I need to spin some of this smooth jazz. And the folks that, to the folks that like to spin smooth jazz, man, more power to you. Spin it all day long. But for me, I want to spin a little electronica. I'm not a big heavy metal guy, but I like some, not classic rock and roll, but like some big hair glam rock.
Sure. Yeah.
Straight up 80s.
So, and that can get a little bit glary, like on the top end.
Yep.
Guitars, right? So yeah, I'm with you in that I would like my speakers to be enjoyed, but then also used as a reference tool. Is that really ridiculously hard to do? Yes. Have I achieved it? I think so, but I will let people decide that on their own. And I think some of the different models of speakers that I'm going to be releasing are going to kind of help address that. So you might buy one if you're at, listening to it in your bedroom. You might buy another if you're using it in the studio. So we'll go into that a little bit as well.
Yeah. And, folks, I want to take comments and questions as they come along, and I'm going to try and not let things pile up too much. So don't be shy to drop a comment or a question in, and we'll pepper that in, right? So we're not on a script here. We're here to have a conversation. But Jim has joined us. Welcome, Jim. Always great to have you here with us. And Tom Rogers is here, and he says, "Hey, man, great speakers make everything sound good," in his opinion. And I agree. There are some speakers that you can listen to pretty much anything on, and you're like, that's all right. Now, from a technical point of view, from a capabilities point of view, if I'm going to drop a little hardcore, rap or whatever it might be, or even electronica that goes down deep, some speakers just aren't built to go that low, and you need to give them a little hand, right, with some external sub support, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, my preference is to have that kind of speaker that's, not too hot, maybe not too mellow, can play as low as it can go, but I'm almost always going to add a sub on it. But when I want to put anything on and not have to worry about it, how do your speakers kind of fit into that methodology?
I would say that based on what you just described, my speakers would be on the analytical side of that. So they are they're really neutral in that they will show you what amplifier you're using, so you can hear the amplifier. So like if you're using a Class D amplifier, it's not going to sound a crappy one. You're going to hear that versus a tube amplifier. You're going to hear that difference. And then when you put on tracks that are lacking in production, you're going to hear that. So
yeah,
I would say that they're not exactly what you described in terms of like just being able to throw anything at it and have it be enjoyable. They are, however, going to be able to take whatever is thrown at it and really reveal what's wrong necessarily with it.
Sure.
Or let's say like it was recorded on a monitor that lacked low end. Well, you're gonna hear that
Sure.
when it comes through my speakers. Yeah.
Right on. I've got an EQ, man. Bang that thing up. I'm not scared. So Tom says he loves his ADS 910s. Now, okay, this is a test of speaker knowledge. Now, are the ADS 910s I think that's it's an older model, but I think it's got like 210s and then like a dome mid-range and a tweeter or something like that. Tom, tell me if I'm even close to being right, if I'm thinking about the same thing or the right thing that you've got. So Larry says, inspiration of the external crossover box. So what was that? So we're going to talk about this stuff, but dude, let's just take the questions as they come to address these for folks.
Sure. So
what made you pull that out? Because I was going to ask why you got this weird box.
Okay. Yeah. So first thing, ADS speakers. I don't know a lot about ADS speakers. I know a lot about Lin speakers, acoustic research speakers. Not a lot about ADS.
I used to have an ADS amplifier in my car years ago. Analog digital systems.
Okay. So I can't address that. The crossover.
But this is like in 1990.
The crossover box was born out of first necessity for testing. And then secondly, a little bit of research into what ruins analog sound. So I obviously decided to make analog speakers when I could have easily just gone and bought a Hypex plate with a DSP system on it and stuck that in and tried to make a speaker that sounds good. But that was not... That doesn't interest me from a engineering technical avenue. And so
Sure.
Basically the crossover box does two things. It allows the speaker to have an active crossover. So if you have a really expensive active crossover and your amplifier is going to be controlling everything in your system, you can wire straight to the speaker. So you can take the passivity essentially out of the loudspeaker. But the box.
So on the back of the speaker, then. So if you took the speaker, flip it around, these are two ways, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you'd have a pair of binding posts for the tweeter and a pair of binding posts for the mids, and that's all that's in that box.
That's correct. Those go straight to the loudspeakers. And now that signal path is very important, right? So the parts I've chosen, like within that signal path, all really contribute to like the cleanliness of the signal. But yes, that's correct. There's no crossover inside the speaker cabinet. So that lower cabinet houses the crossover for that speaker, and it's on an isolation pad. So those parts are not getting a back wave from the woofer as the woofer's firing. And is that an audible thing where you can actually tell that it helps? I'm gonna say only if you had a treated room, an incredibly high quality recording, and then a comparison speaker that didn't have that. You'd probably be able to hear the cleanliness of that signal. some people have said, well, why don't you just stick it in the box and make it cheaper? And I'm not interested in doing that. I would like to deliver like the best and cleanest and most powerful analog solution that I can, and this is the way that I can do that.
Oh, that's cool. Right
Yeah.
on. And it's kind of cool to have the extra box too. It looks different, right?
Also, I'm gonna take you guys over and show you in a second, but the cool thing is going to be like you'll be able to slide the board out of that box and put it into what's called the Pro Stack, and I'm going to take you guys and show you that in a second. But essentially, it's going to be modular. So all my speakers are going to have like a modular component to them, where you can mix and match them with other speakers in the lineup. And so those crossover boards can be taken out, put into a different box, and then all of a sudden you have like a full three-way stack system instead of having just a two-way. And so I can't wait, but I'm going to show you a tour of that in a second here.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of covered off on the products a little bit, but, before we go take a look at everything, and I can pull up your website as we talk about this, but let's talk through what exists today, right? So I know there's products that you make today, products that are going to be coming, but let's talk about what's happening at the moment.
Okay. So what is officially done is the Le Chiffre 5.5-inch two-way speaker. That I have in one main model, which is the Pro Earth, and that's like my flagship two-way speaker. So if you go to, you can click on the Le Chiffre there.
And you had to tell me, what is a chiffre?
Okay.
That's French for, is it the whale or something like that?
All right. So all of the names of my speakers are named after 007 bad guys. So
gotcha.
chiffre, it means the cipher I believe in French, but so all of the names of the speakers are villains from 007 movies. But
I'm digging it.
Yeah, I've got 3 cabinets or 3 models based on the same cabinet size here. And the Pro Earth and the Pro Air are just different in their tweeter. So if you were to order the Pro Air, that'd be for someone who like pretty much exclusively listens to vinyl, isn't putting a lot of like metal through their speakers, isn't going to be like even listening to EDM. So someone who's like exclusively a jazz person might be interested in the Air. The Earth is going to be the most like neutral of all the speakers, and then the Studio is kind of like the more budget offering, and it's a different woofer, same tweeter, a little bit less exotic in the crossover as well. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money, that would be the one that you order. But my flagship model is the one that's in the middle there, the Pro Earth.
Right on. Man, I wish we had a rear picture of this here.
Oh, I can go grab a speaker and actually show you if you'd like me to do that real quick.
Well, let's quickly talk through the products, and then we'll start getting into looking at them and all that kind of stuff and go hands on.
Sure.
So after La Chiffre, then we have, what is it? The Trevilian?
Yeah. Click over into systems for me real quick, and then hit passive there. And then you can kind of see, so these are your individual offerings here. So you've got the Le Chiffre. The Trevilian is essentially just an MTM version of the Le Chiffre, but it's a much more powerful speaker. You get a full octave lower in bass. And then the Electric King is an add-on module to the Le Chiffre. So it's a 7-inch woofer in a cabinet that stacks below it. So by adding that, you can turn your Le Chiffre into a 3-way. So if you scroll down a little bit, these are the different presentations of the Pro Stack models. And so you can run the Le Chiffre on top of the Trevilian, and it basically cancels out the tweeter and turns those into your bass woofers for the 3-way. Or you can run it on top of the Electric King, and then you have just basically a standard 3/4 inch, 5.5 inch, 7-inch 3-way model that goes full range. So those are my my analog offerings, and I think I will be done probably by the end of the year, and you'll be able to purchase all of that from me.
That's awesome. You know, I was just I'm having like a pop culture moment. So you have the La Chiffre. Wasn't there a singer called like La Tigre?
Pro-
And
Probably.
she did like a rap song from the 80s. Okay, I have to Google it.
I can't answer that. I
Tigre?
don't know.
Oh my gosh. Somebody out there that knows pop culture, let us know. There's yeah, I'll it'll come to me at some point. Okay, all right. So those are today, and then the future.
The,
What is that looking like? That's going to
the,
be when you get into active.
that's correct. So if you go up back to where you had the systems tab and you go to active, these are going to be probably next year's task and offering, and those are going to be active loudspeakers. So those are going to be definitely targeted directly at the studio market instead of kind of the everything market. And I haven't even decided yet if I'm going to use the same series of drivers for those, or if I'm going to
Right.
maybe try something like a Purify driver. But I am going to I'm gonna say that those will be definitely targeted at people who use monitors on a daily basis for music production. So it's gonna have a little bit of a different vibe to it, and I'll
Right.
be able to kind of control the way the loudspeaker works a little bit by having that DSP. The reason I decided to do that second is because, like I said, I didn't want to just buy like an off the shelf DSP system and just like start doing it like a kind of like
Sure.
a home entry level system. I would like to design the amp from the ground up, and that's something like I've already started doing based on some of the other amps that I've tested out with the passive speakers. So I've kind of like figured out, okay, like this amp does this amp makes the driver sing, this amp pushes the tweeter, and I'm going to take different like gain stages and different parts of those amps and try to make something that like fits the speaker, not just like just having the speaker add an amp in the back, if you know what I mean.
That's cool. Yeah, I was listening to some Purify based speakers a couple of weeks ago, and I think they make outstanding drivers.
Right,
Just
and they make amps as well. I haven't gotten to test their amps
Mhm.
yet, but supposedly they're very good. So
That's cool.
we'll see. Yeah, I need to. What does Mike say here?
It's illuminating to observe what vibrations can do to a capacitor.
Yes. So I actually, that's one of the main reasons that you'll find the crossover in that separate box is that those vibrations are pretty much completely eliminated. Obviously, if you don't have them on a good stand, there's still going to be vibrations, but compared to having that part sit behind the woofer and literally just get like this all over and over and over again, there is a noticeable difference. And a lot of the things that I do, you can't really test or measure just from like an SPL graph. It's really iterative listening. So I would sit with, a crossover in the speaker, crossover out of the speaker. Did it
Right.
make a difference? Yes. Did shaving down the edges of the cabinet with a half edge roundover versus a 3/4 inch roundover, did that make a difference? Yes. And so like you can't really measure these things. They all look the same when you look at a graph, and that's why like anyone who tries to sell you a speaker based on a line is snake oil salesman. But yeah, so that's how I essentially reached the decision to make the products the way I did is through lots and lots and lots of iterative listening with different kinds of music, and not always the best kind of music.
Right on. Now the grilling will start. So now people want to know about your creds. What is his background before he started this company? Why should I listen to this dude and care anything about what he
So,
says? He's probably an English literature major in college.
pretty close. So I am a Colorado Buffalo, just like Mr. Giles here.
Go Buffs.
Go Buffs. And I actually studied international affairs when I was in college. So
That's how to make love to women from different countries.
That's correct.
International affairs.
That's
right.
correct. Yes, totally. So obviously, that's not technical in nature, but I, I started off working for a company called Listen Up when I was in school in Colorado, and they're like kind of a low voltage company that also does hi-fi. I figured out that I could basically, my technical background was very good for doing audio video work and doing low voltage contracting. So for the past 8 to 10 years, I've been a low voltage contractor. I have my own company in California that does like high end installs for people. I would like to start to phase that out and start to become a full-time speaker designer and designer of audio equipment, but that takes time and it takes sales. I think that I'm definitely suited to do this because of that. And then not on the business side of things, I've been a guitarist since I was 12 years old, and I was a professional musician from kind of age 20 to 30. I actually started doing this because we were going to have a small tour in 2020. That was kind of like the pinnacle of my music career. Everything got shut down. That the tour got canceled.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Yeah. So right. So it's kind of something that's really bad, but I tried to turn it into something productive. And I gotta say, like, for the first 30 years of my life, my brain only thought about making music. And now kind of I wake up every day thinking about like audio and physics and the technical part of that and how I can actually make it better. So I put the same passion into speakers as I did, making music.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So I think at this point we're about halfway through. So let's take a walk about.
Sure. Let's do it.
See what you got going on, and we can show people some real speakers as opposed to a photograph of a speaker, although this is a video of a speaker on their computers. But this is way more real. And
okay.
I love the Kraken back there, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want that.
First off, I have sold out of most of my prototype speakers. So what you're seeing is what's a little bit of the leftovers, so to speak. I wish I had more to show you that were finished, but it's kind of a good thing. So here we go. We're going into the studio, and this is where I sit and do most of my listening. You can see I've got a microphone, and then the small speakers in the middle are kind of prototypes of some minis that I'm working on, not to be released yet. But then the other guys, the brown ones, are a set of Le Chiffres. And let me pull those over and I will show you the back of them so that you can see exactly what Jiles was talking about earlier. So those are the binding posts on the back of the cabinet right there.
Awesome.
And they're very, very minimalist, and they only accept bananas. And that was done kind of on purpose because it's essentially the only way I could guarantee that there was no break in contact, copper to copper contact through the entire signal chain. So it doesn't allow you to use spades. It doesn't allow you to have wire that's exposed to the air that you screw in. So it's just a clean analog signal all the way from that crossover board all the way up to the driver.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah. Now let me take you into the workshop and I will show you that because I'm sure people are interested in that.
Yeah, this is the fun part. I posted up one reel of you working on grain on one of your boxes. You hit it with some water and the grain will pop and you can sand it down more. And people want to see more stuff too, so I got to get some more up there for them.
Okay. All right. So this is the long view of the shop. I will now take you through as best as I can here. So I do most of my work on a router table. And I do everything by hand. So there's no CNC machine in here. There's no one that cuts my boards for me. Everything's done by hand, either on this saw here or this router table here. I've got kind of a dwindling lumber pile here, but this is the future right here. So let me put my computer down, and then maybe we can get a better view of everything.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, so those right there are essentially the offerings and what the Pro Stack will look like. So what I have to produce in my factory, or essentially my shop here, is just 2 different cabinets that ends up being 4 different models of speakers. So the cabinet that you see that is currently the Le Chiffre will also be an MTM, and then you have the 7-inch. Let's see if I can do this.
I know it's backwards and it's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. So I can't do it. But that cabinet there and that cabinet there, one's going to be an MTM and one's a 7-inch, and they both have the capability to act as your essentially 3-way low end of the speaker. So the thoughts were, can I make it modular? Yes. Can I make it functionally modular? Yes. And can I make it passive while doing that? And I think the answer is yes. My thoughts were, people like me who are in their 30s and people who are younger who do music are never going to have the opportunity to like have a Wilson speaker in their house. They're never going to get to own any of these giant stacks because A, you can't move them yourself. B, they cost $110,000 or whatever. And C, they're not actually targeted towards people who are using their speaker to make music. And I really wanted to address all of those things. A, for myself as a musician or whatever, but then B, for the market, because it doesn't exist right now.
Right on. I can't wait to see those finished. The Pro Stack is pretty exciting. So when do you think you'll actually have a functioning Pro Stack? Are you 30 days, 60, 90, 2 years?
So
come on, man, put something down. We're going to hold you to it.
No, realistically, I'm about 2 months away. My goal was to be done with them for the October, the show or the Denver show. I don't believe is happening in October. I believe something is still going to happen, but I don't know if it's going to be in October. But
I don't know either at this point.
Yeah, but the goal was to have them done for October. So I could promise that as an end date. Currently, you can order Le Chiffres from me. Like I said, I have that one prototype left. So if you're interested in that walnut cabinet that I showed, those are still for sale. But other than that, I'm actually starting a production of cabinets and things like that. Oh, Larry's fired up.
He's like, bring it.
Yeah.
So how close are you to La Jolla down toward San Diego?
With or without traffic?
Without traffic.
About an hour.
Okay. I'll be in La Jolla beginning of November.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get together.
Yeah, if I can figure out time to get away from work, maybe I'll take a few extra days, and because there's a lot of people I'd love to visit in LA while I'm out there.
Yeah, I'm purposefully just south of LA, so I'm not located in the craziness. I'm a little bit more towards the beach down south.
Yeah, I've lived. In that area, I've lived in Long Beach, Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa, worked in Irvine.
Oh, so you know the area. Okay.
Yeah, I lived in SoCal for, in different places in SoCal for 15 years or something like that. So I think I still have an honorary California membership or whatever you want to call it.
If you've driven the 405 to work for more than a year, then you can be considered a Californian. I think that's.
Oh, dude, I used to live in Long Beach and work in downtown LA on 6th.
You literally can't do that anymore. like it would be a complete impossibility. You'd have to leave like 3 hours at the beginning of your day and 3 hours at the end of your day.
Yeah, I blue lined it all the time. I just took the train, but that was horrible too.
I know that this is not what people necessarily came here for, but I just went to Seattle, Washington to go look at the surrounding areas and to see if that might be a better place for Black Ocean Audio, because it's getting a little hairy here, running the company and having expensive stuff around. So yeah, we'll see, but that's my 2 cents on it.
Well, one thing I will say about speaker design, and this is a scientific truth, so nobody challenge me on this, but speakers that are designed at the elevation of 5,280 feet sound better at every lower elevation.
Oh,
than a speaker designed at a lower elevation.
Just
I'm
like
just
Olympic
saying.
Athletes, right? No difference. Just like runners. Yeah.
So I mean, if you want to make the best possible speaker, it has to be designed in some place like Denver.
I mean, if you asked the people at PS Audio or YG Acoustics, they would probably agree with you. I think,
Who do you think told me? Yeah, or Boulder's like all amplifiers designed in this area are better too.
Yeah, well, so you've got PS Audio, Boulder amps, YG Acoustics,
but they're not actually in Boulder though.
Oh,
they're close to Boulder, but they're not actually in Boulder anymore.
That's okay. It's probably a little bit pricey to have your shop in Boulder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've done the YG Acoustics tour and talked to those guys, and man, their stuff's crazy. It's all aluminum, and they get these huge pieces of billet. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, so this is a great. I'd love to talk about this from a technical perspective.
Sure.
I did a lot of research as to what drivers I was going to pick, right? But I was able to take almost off the shelf speaker parts and design a loudspeaker that's technically proficient and sonically proficient that matches with all these other people that have crazy material sciences and that have aluminum speaker cabinets that are machine billets, like you said.
The Magicos and the YG Acoustics and
Where do you think the point of return is in the audio world? And without blowing anyone up, do you think that it's essentially fair to charge $150,000 for a pair of speakers when you and I both know that what went into that isn't even half of that in most cases?
So the question of, is it fair to charge what people will pay for a product? Sure, dude. If somebody wants to buy your product and they'll give you $150,000 for it, more power to you. Go make that money. Don't lie though. There's a difference, right? So you can say my speaker will do this and it sounds good, and all those things that are true. And and you can say, and we made it out of aluminum. It looks great. It's all hand done, and it took Joe 82 hours to hammer or whatever it is, right? And if you can demand and get that higher cost, I don't have any problems with that. I think that's fine. Personally, I would never spend that kind of money because I can get something that sounds just as good at a much lower cost, right? But there are different markets for different consumers, and different consumers want different kind of speakers. So there's a market for the super high end, and there are folks, that's what they want for different reasons. And sometimes it has nothing to do with sound, right?
Right. Understood. It sometimes is a lifestyle product or a lifestyle choice. I get that.
Yeah, it's like YG Acoustics. I talked to them and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to deliver a new pair of whatevers to put into the Ferrari dealership." Right? Why didn't they go buy a pair of $109 Klipsch towers to put in? Well, that's because they're trying to build, brand value, and they want to surround themselves with expensive things. So there are reasons for all this stuff. Now, what I can't get on board with is things that aren't true in any way whatsoever, and then charging a lot for it, right? So if they said these speakers, can do this, but they can't really do that, and they have no way to prove that, then I have a problem with it, right? But
Okay.
we'll call out Magico. I love Magico. I think they're awesome. They sound super, super awesome. But when you go up to their super high end, it's really expensive, and I could never afford to pay for them, but if I could have a pair, I absolutely would. I would totally grab those speakers, but they don't come out and create a false narrative around it, right? They're just like, here's our speakers, they cost this much, they do this, listen to them if you like them, this is the experience that you'll have with the purchase and the owning and all that stuff. And I think that's great. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. I respect that.
When I said fair, I guess I wasn't really like saying like, is it fair? I was saying like, where is the point that you, as a consumer, feel that you're getting quality without essentially like paying for excess? I don't know how to say it better.
Yeah. No, I get it. There's a lot of arguments around how to cost things and that kind of stuff, and what's pricing strategy and those kinds of things. And ultimately, you can look at it very technically and impassionately, and this would apply to any product. Ultimately, the price that you should charge, or the price that a business will want to charge for a product, is the price that maximizes profits. That's a purely analytical. What can I charge that's going to produce the maximum amount of money as a return? And that's where you want to price that, because that's the most customers paying the most money to make a return. Now, that's a very business centric point of view. I think one thing that's really wonderful about the market in general right now is that as a consumer today, you can get into hi-fi or whatever it might be, particularly hi-fi, at many different price points and have a super good experience.
Look at buying a Bucart speaker. It's like,
yeah,
I think like $2,200 for a pair of those speakers, and they are unbeatable for the price. Like, you couldn't 10 years ago, you couldn't have imagined listening to a speaker for that price that sounds that good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with you. Like, what you can get for your money out there right now is pretty wild. And as a designer, like, I had to ask myself like many times, like, is what I'm doing like worth it, in the sense that, like, am I adding value to the market? Am I doing something different enough and that has enough value to compete against those kind of speaker companies? And I think the answer is yes. We'll let everyone.
There's one way to know for sure.
Do it.
Do it and see if anybody buys it, right? Of course, you don't want to be living on the edge that far, right? You want to have a good feel for things. And, again, I agree with you on product development and design. Having something that differentiates you in the market is a must. Now, that could be a lot of different things. Like, if you look at cell phones, Apple differentiates itself in the market with brand, right? They've spent years and years and years building value into the brand because they don't have the best technology in their handsets, right? They don't have the most cutting edge, but they make a solid product.
Now they're laptops, but
sure. But they've been very meticulous about the way they've done this, and they've been able to build a company where they can demand a premium for their products, even if they're not the craziest, most technically forward products, right?
Sure.
If you go and look at even Samsung is typically ahead of the curve. And a lot of the smaller Android handsets that really don't have much traction in the US at all are, I think, more technically advanced. So I guess to bring it back, the value will be, what you can put into it. How can you differentiate yourself? But then you also need to pick which market you want to try to sell to, right? So, a high end, it's like super, super high end market. If you price your speakers at $6,000 or $8,000 a pair, that market won't buy them. That market segment will not buy it because it doesn't cost enough.
Right.
And that's crazy to say, but it's absolutely true, right? So you gotta Yeah.
I'm gonna let those people can buy their, you know, $60,000-$70,000 speakers. I this may change as I get older. This may change as my company grows. This may change as I learn things as a business person, right? But um, I would like people like myself to be able
Mhm.
to access what I'm building.
Right
And
on.
I would like that to stay at a level where someone who is a working musician, who is a producer, who whatever, can save enough money to afford to buy these, um, and not kill them, and have it be the only purchase they make for the rest of their life. That's really important to me, and like I really hope that I can deliver value with that kind of business mindset, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's great. And as a company and a brand, what you just articulated is extremely important. You have to say to yourself, what do I want to build? Who do I want my customers to be? Right? Because you can't be everything to everyone. And if you try to do that, you'll fail because, you know, for someone, the speakers will be too expensive. For someone, they won't be expensive enough. For someone, it won't be the right materials. For someone, they won't be big enough. For some people, they're too big, right? So you have to say, who do I want to sell to?
Right.
What is the right price point for these folks? And then you engineer a product that gives them value, quality, performance, but don't forget about yourself, right? You got to make enough money to eat, and there'll be a bar
That's
of success there too, right?
That's correct. And you
Yeah.
know, one of the things is, you guys know, my speakers are made out of solid hardwoods. There is a sonic reason for that. There is a technical reason for that, but it does increase the price of the cabinet and the price of production. So
Yep.
someone who's making just an MDF cabinet that's CNC cut that gets glued together is not going to have the same production costs as me. That's one of the reasons why the speakers are not priced in the same category as a boot cart speaker. I'm not picking on them. It's just like it's a different thing.
Totally
But
different.
if you listen to my speakers, you can audibly hear the difference as well. So
Yeah, that's super cool. All
yeah,
right, so we're getting close to time, and I knew we were going to run out. And dude, you have to come back again because we
I
have a lot more
I'd
to
love
talk
to.
about. Um,
Absolutely.
but I think what's important at this point is if somebody wants your stuff, how do they get
Yes,
in line? How do they order it? How do they say, I need a pair, hook me up? How does that
absolutely.
work?
So, first off, pricing is on the website. So if you look at that systems page or sorry, the products page that Giles was on earlier, each product has a price. It's a starting price, but that is the price that I'm essentially off MSRP currently. You can custom order a set from me by emailing me or calling me. You can go to the contacts page on my website. It has a phone number and it has an email. Or I'm going to have essentially a production run that's going to come out before the end of the year, where there'll probably be like 5 sets of each type of different speaker. And if you want to grab those, you can. Those are probably going to be a little bit more expensive. So your best value, if you'd like a set of speakers, is to contact me directly and then have me custom build a set for you.
That's cool. So I'll have the website information down below. So that'll be in the notes,
Yeah.
blackoceanaudio.com.
Yes, sir.
Everybody go check it out. Instagram, Black Ocean Audio. Everybody go follow, and you can follow along and see all of it's really cool because you get to see kind of what's happening and behind the scenes and new stuff as it comes along. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I try to post as much as I can without giving away too much of any of the technical secrets, right? So
Right.
I show you a little bit of the cabinets, I show you a little bit of the crossovers, I show you sound clips. I think some of the sound clips I post are cool. Like, you can actually hear. People say, don't listen to audio through a phone audio, but that's actually completely false. You should listen to audio through a phone because the more the flatter that speaker is and the more accurate that speaker is, you're actually going to hear that audio cleaner through your phone than something that's all over the place, bouncing off walls, whatever. So take a listen. It's not a bad analytical tool if you're actually trying to pick a set of speakers from afar. You're going to want to listen to what people say about using them, what people say about listening to them, and then you're going to want to get some kind of sense of like what the mid range of that speaker is like by putting on a pair of headphones and listening to a phone clip.
Right on. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, everybody out there, please follow, like, subscribe, all the stuff, and my
And
stuff too.
yeah, follow Jiles. And Jiles, thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, glad to. It's been wonderful speaking with you. Like I said, we'll do this again. Hopefully, November time frame. I can go bring a camera and take some pictures and get some cool footage and post stuff up. But everybody, keep your eye on his Instagram, on Black Ocean Audio's Instagram, and their website. Order some speakers. And sir, with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time around. Take care,
All right.
everybody.
See you later. Thank you.